Today I want to share with you a book called Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa, Pinkola, Estés. This is a collection of myths and folktales through a Jungian lens to help women reconnect with the wild woman archetype. If you're not familiar with Carl Jung, his theory suggests that human beings are connected to each other and their ancestors through this shared collective consciousness. And according to Jung, we carry memories of our ancestors in our subconscious, and so this strongly shapes how we structure and find meaning within this world. Now, this story really goes through so many different aspects of how what the wild woman archetype really means, and how we as women can reclaim the power of the wild woman. And one of the tales that really stood out for me is called Vasilisa the Wise, which is an old Russian fairy tale that starts off pretty much very similar to Cinderella's story. However, the difference is that in these stories the woman turns out to be the hero and she saves herself. So it's very much different than the other fairy tales that we're used to. And before going into too much detail about the story, I just want to give you a background, and then I want to share with you a few passages on intuition and how to reclaim our intuitive power, which is actually in all of us, in the woman's psyche. So this story starts off very similar to Cinderella's story, where a girl loses her mother, and before she dies, the mother's last words to her, actually she gave a gift to her daughter Vasilisa, and she gave her a doll, which represents that intuitive power that she will always carry with her wherever she goes. And her last words, the last words of the mother to her, were to keep this doll and to never leave the home without it, never let go of it. And so after the death of her mother, her father gets married again, and so her stepmother and her stepsisters force her to go on this journey through the dark forest to meet a scary, fearsome creature called Baba Yaga, which represents the wild mother. And she goes through a lot of challenges. She has to go through a lot of tasks as a part of her initiation to retrieve her power of intuition. Now, I want to share a few passages where Clarissa really clarifies what intuition is and how we can retrieve it. Intuition is the treasure of a woman's psyche. It is like a divining instrument and like a crystal through which one can see with uncanny interior vision. It is like a wise old woman who is with you always, who tells you exactly what the matter is, tells you exactly whether you need to go left or right. It is the form of the one who knows, the wild woman. And so, especially through the story Vasilisa the Wise, it really shows the reader that the knowledge that she needs to overcome this, the challenge of going through the dark forest, meeting Baba Yaga, and completing all these tasks to gain light, and that's the knowledge and the wisdom that she gains at the end. It's always within us, and it's just about reclaiming that power and being able to retrieve it. And so Vasilisa is a story of handing down the blessing on women's power of intuition from mother to daughter, from one generation to the next. This great power, intuition, is composed of lightning fast inner seeing, inner hearing, inner sensing, and inner knowing. Over generations, these intuitive powers became as buried streams within women, buried by disuse and unfounded charges of disrepute. However, Jung once remarked that nothing was ever lost in the psyche. I think that we can be confident that things lost in the psyche are all still there. So too, this well of woman's instinctual intuition has never been lost, and whatever is covered over can be brought back out again. And I really am enjoying reading all of these tales. It's It's not an easy read because there's a lot of details that are within each story, and it requires a lot of attention, so you might want to go through the stories one by one and kind of have time to reflect on it, but overall I'm really enjoying it.